Welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings Here. One brain among billions. Billions and billions. Anyway, usual routine. I'll just play the video I made in highlights, little pieces, yeah, and sort of just explain what I talked about today. And it's sort of, I think, important, but they all seem important. And it's really kind of a strange circumstance because part of me is arguing for this idea that you don't land on the moon by just saying, let's go to the moon, right? You have to do all this engineering. It's complicated. Doing the right thing sort of is complicated also. But in some respects, I'm countering my own argument by saying you don't need a great deal of intelligence to be able to convert your functionality into something good rather than crap. In some sense, it's really simple. Okay, so it comes down to the difference between being intelligent and being wise. All you need is a little bit of good understanding, and it's not very complicated. It's not very technical. You don't need to know any math, so to speak. You don't have to memorize any crap. It's really, simple. Memorizing a poem would take more work than it takes, in my opinion, to, nail down the little simple truths you need to basically put yourself in this different category of useful human being versus mess maker. But anyway, that's sort of not the subject of the video, but I mean, it's in there, some of that, I suppose. So that having been said, for whatever reason, I did say it. I don't know if I had a good reason or not. But anyway, let's on with the show. Our conquerors. Alright, so I can just use that word. I mean, the theme of the video is that the psychology is just looking for wins. Okay, so the little game you're playing inside the maze is about personal victory. Whether your victory is over a cockroach, infestation in your house or something, or your victory is in some sort of status thing where, the word Nike is bigger on your shirt than on somebody else's shirt. Well, I guess they don't put I guess they do now. They just had the whatever. Anyway, it reminds me of something I thought of the other day that was just kind of funny. I guess I could tell the whole story, but the whole story is a little embarrassing. But, yeah, I remember buying jeans when I was a kid, and my parents were frugal, so I mean they always bought me like J.C. Penney's clothes and shit, and it was just like there was a point in high school where so it was my first Levi's. I mean my first real pair of pants, well anyway. So there was a girl, okay, who was, I guess she might have been like the daughter of the people who owned the store. I mean, well, anyway, she was doing the checkout stuff, and so she was one of those, pretty girls, and you notice them, so I was, so that was interesting. Just hey, and I'd seen her somewhere before, so I knew she was somebody. But anyway. And it was a mall. And I don't know what it was. I don't know how. 12? Somewhere in there. I was 12, maybe? Something like that. Anyway. 13? Yeah. Something. Well, anyway, so the point I'm making is that the problem is that I happened to buy Levi jeans at exactly the moment when it became very vogue for especially girls, for whatever reason, to sneak up behind you and pull the little red Levi thing out of your pants. Yeah. So, it was like, so anyway, so that was the funny part is, I got Levi's and like 2 days later, some girl pulled the Levi's tag out of my pants. So it was like, it's kind of disappointing, I suppose. But anyways, but the point was the whole yeah, I don't, just I probably should just save this story for some other time. But anyway, so changing room, inadvertent erection, and I was in there for like 25 minutes or whatever, just trying to get rid of, and it just wasn't, Anyway, so it was really quite awkward, because I had to come up with dopey excuses for why I'm in the changing room so long. But anyway, it was, this is part of the charm of your existence, and these little experiences you have that can either ruin you or they make you. They make you or they ruin you. And I don't know which one this one, particular one did. But it's just, fuck. What the hell are we doing? But anyway, she did give me a look, like when I was checking out. She's, like she was nice, so, but who knows? So she would have been horribly high maintenance, and my life would have been ruined, and I would have become a drug addict. So it's all good that it didn't work out. I wouldn't be here making these charming videos. Yeah. Anyway, it just is funny, all the little crap that your life turns on. Just little tiny crap and this decides your fate. Ugh, it's just horrific, really. You should think about something so important as your destiny, and it's going to be controlled by these little crappy events. Alright, anyway, back to the other story, the video story. Acknowledged as making a good point, or whether it's just me. Okay, and alright, so the point is that you can gain your gratification by defeating your own standards. You can play the game kind of internally, and I have to admit, I do a lot of that. I really don't care what you think. It's really what I think that matters, and so because I always have better taste, and I have better judgment, and I have, I'm just such a much better judge of everything. Yeah, it's, in my opinion, this matters. So, but anyway, the point is whether you're playing for your own applause, right, or the others applauding, that's sort of what you're playing for. You're playing for these little defeat the evil reality that you're fighting, surviving it, defeating it, maintaining your credibility, your integrity, not stepping on your own shoelaces and falling down kind of crap. And these are your victories, and they feed your ego. They feed a sense of self that feeds your adrenaline in the game, keeps you moving in the game, gives you the energy to play the game. Even when you know the game sucks and is stupid, I want to eat another potato chip. You want another potato chip. You want another contest. You want to, while I'm hot, let me play everybody so I can beat everybody. So that brings up another story, right? So there was a day where there was a party and they set up horseshoes, right? And I just couldn't lose. I mean, it was a day where I was just, undefeatable. And so I was playing horseshoes and drinking beer for like 3 hours straight, and but nobody, you played, whoever won would play somebody else, that kind of thing, and I never lost. So I played everybody and I never lost, and I played a few of them more than one time and I never lost. And it was just one of those days when you're just, you have it, so to speak. And I just knew I was undefeatable. So I mean, and it was a great feeling, because it just, even if they did really well, and I was behind, I knew I was going to catch up. I knew I was going to win, because I knew I could just, if I really tried, I could just throw a ringer every time, kind of thing. It was almost that in the zone, and it was kind of fun. Anyway. But that's just another little story in the life kind of a thing. Yeah. I see another part of the story shows up, and it's just kind of a crappy part of the story. Is I got a hemorrhoid because it's the same motion over and over. And you're it's you know, and you know, went away, which is great. But I mean, it was just kind of funny. I got a hemorrhoid from playing horseshoes. So just another one of those pieces, you know, just how does that get connected? I mean, how does life fall into that kind of crap? You know, it's just the silly shit. Going to give you the extra set of tools to be a winner. Not only to think you're a winner, but to actually... right, so I was talking a little bit about how nature works, and with other mammals, in some species, it really is a literal thing. If you feel like a winner, you will become a winner because it will give you bigger tools. It will make you into a, you know, a monster. You know, it'll make you something quite capable of being physically dominant. So if you think you're winning, you'll end up getting the right hormones, and it'll make you a winner. Because you had the thought that you were the winning type. And it decides the difference between the alpha male and the rest of the males. Is it decided based on some moment in its maturation where it had more confidence than the rest of the losers. Yeah. Oh, it wouldn't look like winner. You know, it just looked like, ooh, plates. Yeah. So I was talking about trophies and how, you know, they don't really look like what they represent in terms of how much work and all the other crap that went into acquiring it. And all the motivation even, you know, that you could talk about how, you know, that person had to have all this energy to be number one, you know. And maybe number one twice or 3 times or 4 times because being number one once wasn't enough. And it's just this, you know, it's sort of and it's just kind of embarrassing that that's what motivates us, is this sense of accomplishment that usually comes at the expense of creating losers, so you can be the winner. But everybody's doing it. You know, people don't buy lottery tickets to say, well, I'm going to help finance that guy's winnings. You know, I'm going to add my contribution to his wonderful day. You know, that's not what they're thinking. So the philosophy isn't going to really, you know, in some respects it can give you peace of mind and it can make you feel good because you can understand that that's all okay. So that's it's a double-edged sword kind of thing of this knowledge thing, because it doesn't, it gives you big picture perspective, which allows you to say when you're in the maze, don't take anything too seriously, so maybe it can take some of the pressure off. But on the other hand, it, you know, darkens everything, because everything is, it's like you see the pretty girl and you say high maintenance, doom. You know, you're seeing too much. You're seeing inside the skeleton, so to speak, and it's not very attractive. So it's like the pretty things all have this ugly taint to them because you know what they cost, and you know, well, you know, that wasn't worth killing people for that little diamond, right? The little sparkly diamond. Well, there's a bunch of, you know, a bunch of dead people tied to it, and a bunch of horrible abuse, and you know, blah 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 blah. It ain't what it looks like. You know, decided to poof the universe into existence, and so just talking about how silly it is that you even have to have these stupid arguments about this trivial stuff, when the stuff we really should be arguing about is, you know, how much thrust do we need to land the little lander module on the moon surface, you know, with this big picture social engineering thing that we should really be discussing, and instead we have to waste all this time on these trivially, sillily, stupid premises. It's like everybody should start the same philosophical ground, which is, oh, fuck you if you're going to talk about spirituality or some sort of purpose to the universe. I mean, that's just all crap. We're bugs, goddammit. And there's no way out of that. And we're just psychologically psychotic bugs. And nature is, in fact, a child molesting murderer. I mean, it is, in fact, that very thing. And for you to sit there and do your pantheism, you know, and play your Gaia crap, boy, that's really disgusting. You're an enabler. Ew. Ew. Child murdering enabler. Easy access to the interior However you want to. So we still understand it as a concept, and we know it's very different than the not solid, a glass of water. All right, so that was talking about a little bit of modern mystics crapola about there's no is here, there's nothing happening, blah 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 blah. Everything is nothing. Crap, and he tries to premise that on being some sort of scientific conclusion, which is just too silly. But anyway, I mean, it's just a rationalization for just insanely silly and selfish nihilism. And it's just, you're just saying, how does intelligence go there? But it's just, all you need is one bad apple, so to speak, to make the poison pie. And the same thing can happen to intelligence. You can ruin all the 99% of the good stuff with the 1% of just complete crap. And that's how I would describe religion and spirituality and silly Buddha stories or any other kind of crap. It's just crap that gets in the way. It just liquefies and rusts and rots and oxidizes the good stuff. It's a time. And then it's a jackass anyway, and you should have saved him in the first place. So just talking about the whole difficulty of, say, triage and figuring out which wound to fix first, how do you exactly navigate your life without making things worse. It's so difficult to know where you should run away and where you should fight and all of that crap. And yeah, I mean, you're trying to save a patient that might not be worth saving, all that kind of thing. Just really difficult. But the underlying idea that your job is to be janitor is easy. The fact is they've made it very complicated in the sense that there's lots of tricks out there, where there's a dirt spot on the wall and it looks like you can just rub it off, but if you rub it, it dissolves the sugar wall, and then a bunch of syrup spills out all over the floor, and you got a bigger mess to clean up. It's all it's all layered in the context of billions of years of evolution. Instincts, and that's why they have this long maturation, and they're really so. Just again pointing out how humans haven't done this before. We're born completely disabled, and so unlike the other organisms, we don't have a bunch of instincts, and all we really have are conditioned responses, training in our youth. And they're difficult to overcome, but an instinct would be even worse, I guess you could argue. So, yeah, we have to, the key fact you learn is that you have to constantly struggle with your own impulse engine, built out of those conditioned responses, those knee jerks. And you have to constantly try to keep your body from being spastic. Keep your course through life being spastic responses that have nothing to do with reasoning. They just have to do with the fact that you played horseshoes and you bought Levi's jeans and you had an experience, and it might have trained you in some way that fucked you, that I could do to attempt to create a better strategic offensive against idiocracy. Because I suppose that's the generic term. Right, so that's the thing we're fighting, is the unenlightened animals that are running the world through democracy, and the uneducated. But again, see, the subtlety of the argument is that there is a huge connection between education and understanding there is no God, and that it's a mechanical universe, and all this different stuff that's very helpful in terms of understanding yourself as just a robot, just a collection of reflexes. And the real game is what reflexes are going to control you. The ones that are intelligent, that is, that connect words like good and janitor, and are the impulsive ones driven by I want to be a winner. I'd say clearly the intelligence knows it has to win, and so it really has to be part of your actual credibility emotionally. Your sense of self-worth has to be tied to your understanding that the only thing of worth is this do-gooding thing, and that you really have to be a do-gooder to be a worth anythinger. You're not really worth anything if you're not doing the good thing. Alright. And if our target is a better future, we have to actually do the engineering. You know, we have, right, so that's the real tricky part. The future's the whole game we're playing for, and frankly, it's where all the real money is. And it's really, this is a difficult task, navigating the future. You know, it's bigger than maybe landing on the moon. It requires a lot of work and concentration on what the right strategy is to find the little loopholes you can take advantage of. Like, well, we don't have enough fuel to get home, but if we orbit the moon, well, then we can get home. You know, all the little stuff you have to figure out to be able to do it. And, you know, we have to figure out how you migrate an organism, the chaos that we exist in, the fact that some minority, some tiny minority, can decide for everybody what the outcome is going to be. They can spoil by not complying. So like in the case of reproduction, they could just sit there and say they're going to spoil the decision not to, and they're going to sit there and be imposers and break the game. You know, this kind of thing. So there's lots to navigate in terms of figuring out how you deal with, how you put into place mechanisms that don't create failure. Like if you were just being a social engineer and it was your responsibility to figure out how to efficiently spend the welfare dollars, you know, and how do you stop the public housing from turning into slum housing, you know, that kind of thing. I mean, all that has to be part of the plan, or your plan will fail and you're crashing on the moon rather than landing on the moon. And so, yeah, it's work. And it's got to be teased out. The right solution has to be well tested. And that's the end. Alright, so, good enough. Yeah, I think it's a good video. I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff in it. It's good stuff. You know, whatever. Just getting to the point where part of the argument is explaining to somebody what I'm not going to be dishonest. I'm trying to influence your brain and create some triggers, some word associations that will haunt you, like a conditioned response, and keep you thinking in terms of janitor, janitor, janitor. I could say that word, janitor, janitor, janitor. And you could sort of understand the good quality of this idea of cleaning up and fixing and putting back in place. You know, the wind blows it down and you fix it. Fixing, fixing, fixing. How these are really good words, and, you know, your silly I want, you know, doesn't mean much compared to, and that should be the trigger. That your little want isn't the future, and it's just a little present thing. And there's a whole bunch of it at stake in the future. There's a whole bunch of grief, pain, torture, and happiness at stake in the future. And that's what we all got to be playing for. And that's what I'm playing for through you. Okay, because it's only you're going to make the future. You know, what you do to the present is what's going to decide what the future has any hope of. Kind of a thing. Alright, I mean, that's a subject in itself, so to speak. There's lots you could talk about in terms of recognizing how we should, as a matter of habit, incorporate into our function the question, how will it affect the future? Because almost everything we do, we really should be weighing the fact of whether you're going to have a good effect on the future or a bad one, because the future is where the real mass is. Alright, so enough said. And so till the next time, and such, and so forth and whatnot. This has been a donotgod.com video presentation, and such. Yeah, probably enough. We'll call it enough. Yeah. So, link in the comments or in the description to the video on the website. I mean, after all this video, if I have to explain that to you, right, it's just sort of, well, if I have to explain that, oh shit, they're not going to understand any of this. But anyway, till the next time, such, I'm going, I'm leaving. Leaving right about now. Okay. It was a little further into the future than I thought it was going to be, but it's going to be the now.